My message today is going to focus in on the fact that Jesus is risen and the tomb is empty. But for that story to be beautiful and hopeful as it is, we must remember the sacrifice that Jesus gave, which we remember on Good Friday. And so I want to read for us from Matthew chapter 27, where the crucifixion story is laid clear. And we read this there. Then the governor asked, "What shall we do with this Jesus who is called Christ?" And the people answered, "Crucify him, crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" Pilate asked. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him." So then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium, and they gathered the whole community of soldiers around him. And they stripped him, and they put on a scarlet robe, and they set a crown of thorns on his head. And they spat on him, and they struck him. And they mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." What tremendous suffering that Jesus went through on our behalf. And then from there, the Bible tells us, as they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry the cross. And they came to a place called Golgotha, which is the place of the skull. And then they had crucified him. They divided up his clothing by casting lots. And they wrote a sign, and they placed it above his head. It says, "This is the King of the Jews." And the teachers and the people, they mocked him. "He saved others," they said, "but he cannot save himself." And then in verse 45 we read this. "From the 6th hour until the 9th hour, darkness came over the land. About the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, 'Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani,' which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit and died. The Bible tells us then that the centurions and those around him, they said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." And the women were watching, and among them was Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph. And as evening approached, we read that a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus, he gathered. Jesus is going to Pilate, and he asked for Jesus' body. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean cloth and placed it in his own new tomb that had been cut out of the rock. And he rolled a big stone in front of the entrance. And Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting there across from the tomb. And so that is the sacrifice that Jesus gave. He gave his own life for the forgiveness of sins. And there's a song that says, "Jesus paid it all." And that's what he did. And we owe him our very life because of his grave. So let's sing together, "Jesus paid it all."